Good afternoon and welcome to Blueprint for Efficiency, a webinar speaker series hosted by the Center for Business and the Environment at Yale and the MIT Energy Club. My name is Stuart DeCue in snowy New Haven, Connecticut, and I will be your host for this afternoon's presentation. Today's talk is Innovations in Financing Energy Efficiency, New Approaches and Partnerships with NYSERDA. We would like to acknowledge the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation for their funding support of the Carbon Finance Speaker Series at Yale. First, a word about our speaker series. The Yale Center for Business and the Environment and the MIT Energy Club are pleased to present the fourth annual installment of the Carbon Finance Speaker Series entitled Blueprint for Efficiency. This series of public webinars will feature the latest developments in energy efficiency policy, investment, technology, and community engagement, with a special focus on the Department of Energy's Better Buildings program. In today's talk, Jeff Pitkin, Treasurer of the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, will give a presentation on how New York State is developing innovative methods of providing energy efficiency financing in residential dwellings, small commercial, not-for-profit, and multifamily buildings through the Green Jobs Green New York program. NYSERDA is developing efforts to offer multiple forms of financing in each sector, including direct financing obligations, on-bill recovery financing, and property assessment-based financing. The webinar will explore how the program leverages existing programs in each of the sectors and also incorporates new approaches for consumer outreach and engagement through constituency-based organizations, supported by workforce development activities for participating contractors to create and increase the number of green jobs. A little bit about our speaker. Jeff Pitkin is the treasurer of NYSERDA, a position he's held since 2001. He served as the controller and assistant treasurer since 1991. He is responsible for accounting and financial reporting, budgeting, contract management, and information technology, and the authority's bond financing program as well, which has issued $3.6 billion in tax-exempt bonds to finance qualifying investor-owned utility capital expenditures. He's currently leading the effort to create financing structures to support energy efficiency financing for residential, small business, and multifamily building property owners under this program, using $112 million in funding provided through legislation, federal grant funds, and capital market financing. Previously, Jeff was a controller for Trans World Music Corporation and a senior accountant at Ernst & Young. He's a certified public accountant and received his BA in accounting from Siena College. Please welcome Jeff Pitkin to Blueprint for Efficiency.
Thank you very much, Stuart, and good afternoon, everyone. As Stuart said, it is a snowy day here in the Northeast, and this morning when I woke up and found out that school had been canceled for my 3 kids who are high school aged, but I didn't see an announcement that today's webcast was canceled. My only hope is they're at home playing Xbox and they're not actually tuned in and listening to today's webinar and going to ping Dad with tough questions. I will, before going into today's agenda, I would like to first thank the Yale Center for Business and the Environment and the MIT Energy Club for inviting me to speak on today's webinar, and also to thank for their support the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation for the Blueprint for Efficiency Speaker Series. I am excited to present on today's webinar new program activities that we recently rolled out and are in the process of rolling out. My hope for an agenda is to first, for those who may be unfamiliar with NYSERDA, talk a little bit about who we are and what we do, then talk about specifically the new program that we're rolling out, Green Jobs Green New York, which was the result of legislation enacted in 2009, talk about how that program has been funded, describe some of the program guidelines that are being used in rolling out that program, describe some of the financing approaches that we're using, and specifically the approaches that we're using for accessing funding through the capital markets, provide you a little bit of updated status information on where we are, and then be happy to answer any questions. First, about NYSERDA. NYSERDA is a public benefit corporation that was formed in 1975. We are an authority, so we are a separate legal organization of the state government. We're governed by a 13-member board of directors. We have an annual budget that's about $760 million. We have about 340 employees. And we administer a portfolio of programs geared at providing both technical assistance and funding to adopt energy efficiency practices, to encourage the development of renewable generation. We conduct energy policy and planning work, including preparing a state energy plan. We manage the cleanup of a former nuclear fuel reprocessing facility located in West Valley, New York, south of Buffalo. We manage the Saratoga Technology and Energy Park, which is a business incubator clean energy park located just north of Albany. And as Stuart mentioned earlier, we also issue tax-exempt bonds for qualifying costs for New York utilities. And our mission statement, as is noted here, is to advance innovative energy solutions in ways that improve New York's economy and environment. NYSERDA is an organization which cares greatly about collaboration, and in that regard, really looking forward to the opportunity today to share with you what we are doing, and look forward to answering any questions and interacting with folks in the future to help share some ideas of our approaches and learn from what others are doing. In late 2009, legislation was enacted, the Green Jobs, Green New York Act, which was the result of a coalition of advocates, laborers, foundations who provided a blueprint document which became the foundation for the legislation. That was led by the Center for Working Families. And the idea behind the blueprint document was to connect interests of community groups, contractors, homeowners, and laborers, with the ultimate goal being improving energy efficiency and creating green jobs. The legislation, among other things, directs NYSERDA to establish and administer a revolving loan fund to provide energy efficiency financing for certain sectors, and to offer innovative financing mechanisms. The three sectors that were identified in the legislation include residential 1 to 4 family homes, multifamily buildings, and which are buildings with 5 or more units, and buildings for small commercial and not-for-profit organizations. And here the legislation dictated that small commercial organizations have 100 employees or less. The legislation limited the amounts of financing that could be provided for residential homeowners to not more than $13,000, and for small commercial and not-for-profit organizations limits the financing to not more than $26,000. While the legislation didn't limit the amount of financing that could be provided to multifamily buildings, NYSERDA's program guidelines that have been developed are limiting those to not more than $500,000 per building or not more than $5,000 per dwelling unit. The legislation also directed NYSERDA to issue competitive opportunities to engage constituency-based organizations, community groups, which can connect community members to the program and help to encourage them to adopt energy efficiency retrofits in their homes and businesses. The legislation also provided for NYSERDA to establish a schedule of fees for energy audits and to provide energy audits for free for residential homeowners who have an annual income less than 2 times their median county household income, and to provide energy audits on a sliding scale for consumers who have an income level up to 4 times their county median income. And then lastly, the legislation directed NYSERDA to provide for employment and training services to support the program and to help help with the creation of additional green jobs to support the program. After the enactment of the legislation, NYSERDA conducted an extensive and open stakeholder-based program planning effort. We formed a Green Jobs, Green New York Advisory Council, which included 22 members of stakeholders from various constituencies. We formed working groups which looked at different elements of the program. The Advisory Council met a dozen times. We had webcasts of the meeting, public participation. All of the materials that were presented to the Advisory Council are available on our website at www.nyserda.org/greenny. And I would like to just take a moment to publicly recognize the efforts of Karen Villeneuve, who's our Director of Residential Efficiency and Affordability Programs. Karen and her staff and management did an outstanding job and really demonstrated tremendous leadership with rolling out what is a very complex program, which had interests from a variety of stakeholders, not all of whom saw things the same way. And so it was a challenging effort to try to get to the point where we are today, which is where we have rolled out and are continuing to roll out different elements of the program. So Karen and her whole team did a fabulous job. The Green Jobs Green New York legislation provided $112 million in funding resulting from proceeds of the sale of auction allowances under the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI. RGGI is a coalition of 10 Northeast states who created a cap-and-trade program to gradually reduce CO2 emissions and to provide a mechanism to provide funding for carbon abatement programs. And this slide provides the details of how the $112 million in funding has been allocated by the advisory advisory council. About $8 million being dedicated towards workforce development initiatives, $10 million for outreach and marketing, about $27 million for costs of providing free or subsidized energy audits, and about $51 million that has been provided as an initial corpus of funds to support the energy efficiency financing efforts of each of the three sectors. In addition to the RGGI funds, NYSERDA did receive an award under the U.S. Department of Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant, what was called Retrofit Ramp-Up Program and is now called the Better Buildings Program. It was a total of a $40 million award, which was the largest award in the nation. And it was an award to a submission that we submitted in partnership with New York City and other partners. So our $40 million award is being allocated $21.4 million to support a large commercial energy efficiency financing effort in New York City, and with the $18.6 million remaining being dedicated to supporting energy efficiency on a statewide basis. The Better Buildings Grant allows for the use of up to 50% of our funding, or about $9.3 million, for loan loss reserves to support these energy efficiency financing efforts. The $18.6 million that we are administering has been allocated about $5 million to a coalition of towns in Long Island who also joined our partnership. About $8.2 million that will be subgranted to formula-ineligible communities to provide for energy efficiency financing, $1.7 million to support free energy audits for small commercial customers, $400,000 for billing upgrades to support on-bill financing efforts, and about $2 million for loan loss reserve funds.